Hi! In this video, we're going to build a very little web application using Angular, ExpressJS, and scraping browser API service by Bright Data, who is, by the way, the sponsor of today's video. And we will build the app that goes to the Amazon.d and scrapes the current deals. And then we are going to normalize this data and display it inside our application. If it sounds interesting, or you have many use cases where you have to scrape the data from third-party websites, then please continue watching. Otherwise, I have many other advanced Angular tutorials on my YouTube channel. You can check them out later. And yeah, by the way, my name is Dmitry if it is your first time on my channel. But now let's get started and build the web application that scrapes the data from the Amazon. Alright, so let's get started, and let me very quickly explain you what we're going to build in this video. And we're going to build a very simple Angular application that has to go to the Amazon website, find different actual deals, and pull this data and render it inside our app somewhere right here. This technique is known as a web scraping, and at the first glance it doesn't sound like something difficult, but once you get started with it, you will quickly realize that you have to overcome a lot of challenges in order to scrape the data from other websites. And let's very quickly highlight just a few challenges you might encounter. The first one is that Amazon doesn't provide you an API. So you cannot just directly call the Amazon API from your website and pull current deals and render them in your application. Amazon is not obviously interested in sharing this data with you. So we would need to find another solution. And this another solution is exactly the web scraping technique. And the idea is that your server does a request to some page that you want to visit. This page returns HTML, so it will return something like that, the bunch of JavaScript and HTML code. And you write a special script that can find in these whole nodes the required information, then normalize it into some probably JSON format and return this already prepared data to your Angular application. Generally, this task is not so hard as it seems, because there are different libraries that allow you to simplify the process and easily find the required nodes. But another problem you might encounter is that the HTML that the Amazon server returns might not contain all the information you need, because some of views might be generated by JavaScript at runtime, and these blocks, these cards, not necessarily must be present right here. And in order to solve this issue, we would need to open this page where we want to scrape the data. We have to open this page in a dedicated browser instance, and then we have to write a special script that will be emulating the user who finds the required card on a page and then inspects this card, the HTML of this card, and pulls the required data like text or maybe some href attributes and so on and so forth. Fortunately, there are tools like Puppeteer, which we will be using, by the way, in this lesson. Those tools can simplify the process of scraping the data. But even if you implement the proper Puppeteer script that successfully scrapes the data, sooner or later you might encounter other issues. For example, the CAPTCHA, because you might do a lot of requests from the same API, and Amazon can be very suspicious and check if you are a real human, and if you will not be able to solve the CAPTCHA, then you will be most probably blocked and you will not be able to access Amazon at all. So if you want to have a reliable scraping script, you would need to implement also some API rotation mechanism and build some distributed proxy network and a lot of other things. This is just a top of the iceberg, and this is very difficult to implement and it will take a lot of time. But fortunately, there are services like Scraping Browser by Bright Data that can drastically simplify the process and solve the most difficult parts for you. For example, the scraping browser can rotate IP address, so every time you scrape the data from Amazon, it will be done from different IP, so you will not be blocked most probably. And in addition, it has a lot of other cool things. For example, you can include the captcha solver and solve the captcha if they appears on the web page where you're going to scrape the data. And the idea is pretty much very simple. So you can think about it as about some regular browser instance like I have right here, but this browser instance located in the cloud, and on that cloud configured all the infrastructure that is responsible for IP address rotating, captcha resolving, and so on. And you get access to this remote browser instance and you can control it by using Puppeteer script. This is basically the whole idea. And now, finally, let's get started with coding and let's scrape the first bits of data from the Amazon. So I'm going to jump to my code, and as I said, we need a server for that. So I would create a separate file like server.js, and there will be the regular Express application, and for that we would need to install necessary dependencies like Express and Puppeteer core. Okay, so I hit enter, and once everything is installed, we can actually create our Express server. So let's import Express and also the Puppeteer that comes obviously from the Puppeteer core. And here let's initialize the Express application and define the application port. Okay, so once we have this, we can start listening to the port 3000 and just console log some message that the server is up and running. So I can even test it and run my server.js file, and you can see that everything is working, so we can continue. Now I would like to create a separate road, so when my Angular application requests this road, then the data scraping will be initialized and we will go to the Amazon deals and pull data. So in Express, we do it using the app-get method, and here I define the actual road. You can name it as you want. I will name it as a scrape deals, and there should be some callback function that takes requests and response. And let's return some dummy data so far. So I will use the JSON method and I will return the following array, which contains the dummy deal. And now I can save this change and let's restart our server. And after that, I'm going to call this URL. So let's go to the browser, open a new tab and open it on localhost 3000/scrape deals. So here we go. And if I hit enter, you can see this small array has been returned. So let's continue and write the scraping data logic somewhere right here. And first of all, we would need to connect the Puppeteer with some browser instance. And as I mentioned, we will be using the scraping browser by Bright Data. So let's go there and create it. And if you don't have an account at the Bright Data right now, you can simply create it using one of these buttons. Just follow instructions and you are ready to go. Also, you can use the link I attached to the video description. And if you use that link, you will get $15 credits, so you can spend this money to play with the scraping browser and learn more about how you can benefit from it. But anyway, once you created the account, you will have the dashboard that looks something like that. And here you can find, let me zoom it in a little bit. Here you can find the card of products. One of them is a scraping browser, and this is exactly what we actually need. So I click get started, and here I can give any name to this scraping browser. So we can say that this is the decoded scraping browser without one, so like that. And if I click add button, I can create the scripting browser instance, and here I get the credentials that I can use in order to connect to the instance of this scripting browser. Immediately you can see here links to some useful resources where you can get more information and read documentation about that, or you can see integration examples, and here you can see basic implementations of different use cases along with the captcha handling, how to find element with selector, and other things. The only thing I will copy paste from here is this credentials string, so it already contains the login and password in order to connect the remote browser. So I will copy it, but the rest will type by hand, so you will better understand what is going on inside this code. So let me go back to my VS Code, and here I will paste the string I just copied, and here below I can already connect my Puppeteer to this remote browser, and I do it by calling the Puppeteer connect method, where we have to configure the browser WebSocket endpoint, and the value needs to be exactly this connection string. So here we go. And because this connect method returns a promise, so before we proceed to execute further logic right here, we would need to await when this promise will be resolved, and for that I would need to also turn this function into a sync one. And now I can already navigate the Amazon deals page and try to scrape some data. For that, let's first of all initialize the try catch block, and inside the catch we just console log the error, and we also have to implement the finally block, and in finally block we have to close the browser, because doesn't matter if the script has been executed successfully or not, we have to close the connection to the browser. And this is also a promise, so I will use await keyword and then call the close method from the browser instance. Cool, and here we can already initialize a new browser page by using the new page method from the browser instance. And once we have this new page instance, think about it as a just opened browser tab, we can navigate to some certain URL, and we can achieve that by using go to method, where we can define the URL we want to visit. As I said, in my case it will be the Amazon D web page, and namely I will navigate to today's deals page, and this is gonna be the URL I want to visit, and then we will scrape all these deals from here. Okay, so let's get back to the code, and here I will just paste the URL I just copied, and let's maybe create some message that we are connected and we are navigating to the Amazon.d deals web page, and probably we have to move it here above. Once I navigated to this deals page, I would need to wait until some certain element appears on the page. And namely, I'm interested in this grid. And for that, we would need to get the exact selector for this element and instruct the Puppeteer to wait until this element. So first of all, let's figure out which selector it has. So I will inspect this element. So this is the deals, right? And right here we can see this wrapper, and this div element has the following long selector, so we can copy it and then go to the code and instruct Puppeteer to wait when this element will pop up on the page. So I will use the wait for selector method, and here I have to define this actual selector, and let's assign it to some separate constant like deals grid. So here we go. The next step will be to parse this element and pull all the data we need. And this is something we can do by using evaluate method that takes a callback where we get this deals grid element. and things will return from this callback. It will be already the value, the parsed data we need. So we can also create a constant like products and assign to it the result of this evaluate function, which returns, by the way, also the promise. So let's also await until the promise is resolved. And this is the data we can return actually instead of this dummy data. So we can return something like that. And by the way, we have to move it inside our try catch block, and already here we can already focus on the data scraping. First of all, we would need to define what exactly we want to scrape from this page. I would say that from the deal I would like to have some image, right? And I would like to have some title and maybe URL to this deal. So these three things at least I would like to display in my Angular application. And for that we have to first of all define the selectors for these three elements. So let's try to figure out what is selector for the title. And I think we could use this selector, and this is a class deal link. So I can copy this selector and define it somewhere right here in the separate constant. So here we go. And by the way, it is a class, so we have to define the dot in the very beginning, and the same I have to do for my image and link selector. So let's make a separate constant link selector here below, and let's go and take the selector for the link. And for the link it will be it looks like we can reuse the same selector actually. So I could take also this A-link normal class to be a little bit more precise. So this selector means that please select the element that has this class and this class applied. You can make a more precise and better selector if you want. It's just for learning purposes. And the last but not least, it's image selector. So let's do the same for that. And I go back to the browser, and for the image I will use this selector. Okay, Amazon has such a long names for their selectors. Okay, so here is the selector for my image, and now we can proceed with the next step. And the next step would be to get references to all these cards. Then inside the loop we can go into each card and read text from the certain elements. So I would need to copy this selector as well, and here from the deals agreed that we will get actually as a function parameter right here, I can call the query selector all method and provide this deal grid item selector right there, and assign this everything into a separate constant like product elements. So here we go. Nice. Now let's create an empty array where we will be adding already normalized items, and then let's walk through the product elements using the for each loop where we will get an element. And let's first of all try to get data for the title. Right, so here I will use the element, then again I will query selector, because here inside the element will be actually this whole card, right? So I will query just a certain element, namely this one. So it's going to be the title selector, and from here I will just grab the inner text like that. And then if the title exists, I can push a new object with the value from this title into this array, right? And by the way, right after this for each loop, we have to return the product data array that we will build inside this for each loop, okay? And I think we can already do some intermediate test and restart our server. and try to execute the script and see if the deal's title has been returned. So I go to the browser, where is my localhost 3000. I reload the page and it doesn't work. Puppeteer is not defined. Ah, okay, I probably made a typo. Oh yeah, sorry. So I have to replace it like this. And let's very quickly check if I forgot anything else. And oh, okay, yeah, I forgot to await for the goTo method, because it also returns the promise. And oh, I found another one for each loop, so another typo. Why I didn't choose the TypeScript, I don't know. Okay, anyway, let's restart our server JS one more time and go back to the browser and restart the script. And after a couple of seconds, finally, it returned us the array of titles from the Amazon deals, which is great. So we can proceed. So let's get back to the code and select another data like image and link to the deal. So right here we can create another constant like link and fetch the href attribute from the link element. So for that, I again use the element, then query selector. Then I have to provide the link selector, and from here I will read the href property like this one. And the same also I'm going to do for my image, and here I will use the image selector and I will read the source property like that. And then we can provide the link and the image to the product data that will be already consumed by our front-end Angular application. So let's save it, restart the server and check if everything works as we expect. So I go back, I reload my script, and let's see if we will be able to get all the required data. Okay, it's not so clearly visible, but you can see we have a link property with the link to the deal, and here we also have an image key that contains the link to the deal image. So our data scraper is working perfectly. The only thing is remaining is to bind this everything with our Angular application. So let's go and jump to the app component TS file. And here I'm going to create a new property called HTTP and inject the HTTP client. So here we go. And instead of this dummy observable, we will use already the HTTP client using the get method and providing the URL, which one? This localhost 3000 scrape deals, right? And paste it right here. And then we would need to transform a little bit the output. So inside the pipe, I will use the map operator, and I will say that from data, please return the data.products. Right? Because the server returns the object that has key products, and this key already contains the array of deals. And you can see the TypeScript complains, yep, because it doesn't know which type this endpoint returns. And we will say that it's going to be the object with the property products. That is an array of Amazon deal. This is the interface I created before. And I think I can save these changes, and then we can go back to our application. And you can see this loader, because I have in the template the simple check that when there are no items so far, then please show the loading template. And loading template has this progress bar, right? Once the data is loaded, there will be rendered the card with the Amazon deals instead of this loading template. So something goes wrong definitely, because it takes so much time. Of course, course policy. This is the issue we have to solve on the server side, and for that let's stop our server and we have to install the separate package called course. So here we go. And once we install that, first of all, we would need to add it right here and then apply this course middleware like this one. And now if I save and restart my server, it's supposed to work fine. So let's reload our Angular application. So as you can see, it is being loaded, and after some time we see finally the Amazon deals that were rendered right here. And you can see that image is being displayed perfectly, and if we click this button, we can be navigated exactly to the Amazon deal page. Could we somehow improve this scraping script? Yes, for sure. We could first of all rewrite it with TypeScript, and this is what I'm going to do. And I will rewrite it in a TypeScript, refactor a little bit, and push to the GitHub repo so you can check it out. Just use the links in the video description. Another thing I would improve is performance, because you might notice that data scraping takes some time, and that's why I would store my scraped data in some intermediate storage, something like Firebase, and my Angular application would pull the data directly from the Firebase because it is much faster, and the scraping script could live in some Firebase function and could be executed once per day or once per week. It depends how often changes the data you are going to scrape. And once the scraping script is executed, it would again update the Firebase with the new data. And also it can help you to optimize costs, because the more data you are scraping via scraping browser API, the more money you have to pay to write data. And if you are scraping data once per day or once per week, definitely the cost will be very little compared to doing this every, I don't know, every second or every minute. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope this video was useful, and if you'd like to try the scraping browser API on your own, please don't forget that I have a special link in the video description, and if you create an account via this link, you will get 15 bucks credits that will allow you to play more with this scraping browser and explore more its features. Also, in the video description you will find the link to the GitHub repo where you can find the source code from this video, and also there will be a branch where you will see the same code but a little bit refactored and rewritten with the TypeScript. Otherwise, I wish you a productive week ahead, stay safe, and see you in the next video.